Okay, good morning, everyone. This week's episode of the local experience is actually not going to be a local, it's going to be a regional. Now, for some unknown reason to myself, I decided to record this the morning of. And it's actually really, really bright because the sun is out, which I'm not going to complain about. And it is 7:15 in the morning here. Now, I've spent the last week contemplating what I'm going to play. And when I say contemplating what I'm going to play, it started off with one option. It started off with Darklord. I was like, right, okay, I want to play Darklord, which I do. I actually really do quite enjoy playing Darklord. And then I was like, how serious do I want to take this? Do I want to be walking away or trying my hardest to walk away with the mat and try and play meta? So then Radiant Typhoons kind of entered the fray. And what I like to play when I go to tournaments like this is I don't like to play the main meta. I do like to try and play something that's a little bit unorthodox, something a little bit unknown. Now, obviously, there's blessings and curses to all of that. The blessings is people don't know the decks inside and out, so they don't know the best time to interact. They don't know the best spots to interact with. And more times than not, they tend to end up shotgunning cards the second that they can be used because they don't know when they can be used later on. The curse is that the deck is obviously not meta for a reason. It means that they naturally don't have the ceiling that other decks do, like Radiance. So with Radiance, you'd probably have a much better chance as long as you learnt it inside and out. Another one that popped into the back of my head was Sky Strikers. Now, keeping in mind that in Europe we don't have Camellia and we don't have any of the new cards. Not that makes a huge difference with the deck these days. But I was kind of like, well, Strikers could be a good option. Again, if I learnt them and knew them inside and out. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that I don't know those or Radiance, but I'll know the basics. And I feel to do well with them, you need to know the little loopholes or the little kind of moments like, oh, when do you MST your own stuff? When do you chain linkage, and make sure that you still have a card on resolution, because you've got to remember that both, if you do chain linkages to linkages, you still need to send the cards. You still need to have another card on the field to send, otherwise you end up sending the card you summon, and then it doesn't get its effect. So, yeah, contemplating that, I didn't do any testing this week in regards to going to like a locals. I should have really gone on Wednesday to kind of test the build that I was going for, but again, I was still like, I needed to play Radiance and then go like, yeah, no, Radiance isn't for me. Anyway, I decided to go with Darklords. Now, the other contemplation that I've now been stuck with is what build of Darklords I go for. Now, usually I was trying to work with a flat 40. Now my deck build is at 45, and there is a opportunity, like not an opportunity, but an alternative pathway. So, pathway number one is the Fallen Virtuous, which I think is an incredible card. I really like the card, and I was just like, okay, I like how it gets you something else afterwards, and it basically turns a one-card interaction into a free turn interaction as you go. And then I kind of went, but what about Super Polymerization? And I was like, okay, so with Super Polymerization, what does it do? Well, it decimates the extra deck, that's for sure, because for the extra deck of Super Polymerization, I'm going to move the camera back a little bit. For the extra deck of Super Polymerization, you need, there's so much you need to cover. Yes, of course, you can play normal Mud Dragon. Yes, of course, you can play normal Garura, but then to get the most out of it, you need to consider stuff like Dracus Depelia. So that could be really good against a end field of Dragoon plus Ilia Sylvia. And then you need to consider Duke of Demise, so shout out to Shane on that one. So the Duke of Demise is two Fiend monsters, so that's your Desiree and the High Wave King Caesar, so that's if Yummy get to kind of like go off. But then, the more and more I think about it, there are pros and cons. Now, obviously, your opponent could not stop Super Polymerization, so it will just happen. It does give you a discard, which in Darklord is not the end of the world, because if you discard Google it, then you're going to be able to net even more advantage. The other cards you can consider as well is Sectorion Dragon, or you can open up your door to Azamina, Saint Azamina, and Ilia Sylvia yourself, because the idea is that we're using a Synchro and a Fusion that are both level 6 or higher, so Ecclesia, the Darkest Dragon, and like Arfulion, for example. You then get access to Saint Azamina, which can't be targeted, and then Saint Azamina can spawn you out Ilia Sylvia, which gives you an Omni Negate, and then you can tribute off one of your opponent's cards or monsters, I believe, plus the Saint Azamina, and get into Azamina. So Super Polymerization being itself plus a discard can, in certain scenarios, net you so much advantage. The downside is, rather than taking up 2 spots in the extra deck, it could end up taking up like 50% of the extra deck. Not that Darklords are very tight on their extra deck, especially the Sulphur Cord version that I'm playing, but it does kind of give you a dilemma of what do you sacrifice. And what I was doing is, when I was putting together the Fawn and the Virtuous one, I was like, well, I've got like sorry, I've got like 1 or 2 extra deck slots that I don't know what to put in. And it's like, yeah, okay, I could put in Access Code Talker, not the worst idea, because then you can use your, once it comes back to you, once you've already used your Omni Negate on the form of the Sulphur Cords, you're not going to be able to really reset them, or reset it. So you just link it off going to Access Code, and then Access Code will have, hopefully at that point, will have at least a Dark and a Light, so that's 2 destructions, and pushing for the OTK. Not that you should need it, but it would be good spot removal. So there's that option that I might have to consider, which wouldn't be the worst idea to consider either, really. So yeah, it was a bit of a dilemma. I still haven't fully decided. I've written out 2 deck lists, or printed out 2 deck lists. I'm definitely going to need to make some amendments on the day, which reminds me, better pack a pen. And speaking of making sure you're packed, I do this every single time, by the way. Like, every single time I do a regional, which is why I'm quite those people that have one deck and stick to that deck. It just must make life so much easier when you're coming to a regional. Like, yeah, that's my deck. Like, Donald is the prime example. Like, he'll make minor adjustments, but like, he knows if he go into a regional in like 6 months' time, he'll be going with Madolce, and he'll just adapt it to the current environment and the current list. So, like, very minimal change. So yeah, when you're preparing for a regional, make sure you pack a pen. It's always going to be good, because you need to track life points, whether you do that on Nora or not, but you want to try and keep your battery. Always worth bringing a pack of sleeves, or buy a pack of sleeves at the event. Remember your deck box, of course. I don't think trade binder is that important, but if you are a big trader, then by all means remember your trade binder. But the baseline you should remember is your deck, your mat, pen, paper, and yeah, if you have to bring a physical ticket, remember to bring your physical ticket. Deck list is not the end of the world if you forget it. It just means you're going to have a crampy hand right at the start, because you're going to have to write out your entire list again. So if you're on a 60 card list, oh boy, that's going to be heavy for you. So yeah, what we're going to do is, I'm going to be driving up. I'm driving up with Matt, Terry, and Shane. So they've all decided what they're going to play. Well, at least I think they did. Last night, Shane was testing Yummy Fiends against Matt's Fur Hire Canine. But Matt obviously has like Lunar Lights as well, so he was like common playing which two. Shane was also had Radiance, but I think he's definitely set on Yummy Fiends. He went to Chesterfield Regional the other week, so he's had a bit of a run out on that one. And Terry's also going to be on Yummy Fiends, so I probably should have tested against him last night, but I was just too tired, I'm not going to lie. So yeah, I'll try and do like little bits of vlogs throughout. I won't be able to record duels as we normally would, because I'm going to be locked in on the at the event. It's a really nice venue, actually. We went there last year, me and Shane, and even Terry. Terry popped up as well. It's like Athena Games, I think is the exact wording of it. But yeah, it was a really fun event, actually. I quite enjoyed it. I actually went last time. I went with Blue Eyes Odeon Primite, 50 card list, and I lost. I got a draw, which I should have won, which was against Dragon Link. I lost against Yugioh OTK. It just like blew me out of the water. And then I lost in the last round against Malice. If I had won the Malice game, I would have got my invite, and I would have even topped as well. And that was like devastating. But they just opened up uninterrupted. I was like, I can't do anything. And then I opened up garbage. I opened up, I think, like 2 ghost spells, and then just pieces that didn't get me anywhere. I was like, damn. Once the wheels fall off on Rogue, the wheels do fall off, which is again another risk and reward. Anyway, I'll give you catch-ups throughout the day as well. Hopefully the sun stays out the way that it needs to do, and then we'll let you know how the travel goes. So I'll catch you all in a bit. Okay, so we're here at sunny Norwich. It's actually really, really sunny. I'm trying to like find the shade and everything so it bounces off my forehead. All pre-registered. It is currently, I think, just gone 11 AM.
Their plan is to hopefully start about 11:15. I decided to go with Fallen the Virtuous version. Ultimately, I feel that I'm going to, no matter which, this is always going to happen, okay? No matter which version I went with, if I went with the Super Poly version, I'd be like, oh, every time I saw Super Poly, I'd be like, I wish this is Fallen and Virtuous. And now that I've chosen Fallen and Virtuous, every time I'm going to be like, I wish this was Super Polymerization. So, either or, we're just going to roll the dice, we're going to have a bit of fun, we're going to enjoy it. Don't know how many rounds of Thresh yet. The cap was 60 duelists. I don't know how many they've got yet. It doesn't look like it's at capacity. But it's just a really nice store. So it's like literally there's down a walkway down there. Everyone's outside, so I thought like, you know, I'll find somewhere a bit more peaceful. And I really like the church in the background. So I came here, would have been over a year now. And it's a really nice event. And yeah, I just enjoyed it. So then me and a couple of friends were like, okay, we'll do it again this year. So yeah, looking forward to it. There's a lot of players here that we already know. Or players that we just, you know, that have won events already, topped events, that are working for their world's points and everything else in between. So it's going to be very interesting to see what people are playing. Just having a quick walk around, it does look like there was Malice. Fiendsmiths are pretty much everywhere. Whether that's going to be a benefit or not, like I did put in one card into the main deck. So I sacrificed a Fallen and the Virtuous for a brick. Now I don't know if this is a good way or a bad way, but I saw it and I was like, it was that or Darklord Testable Poker. I was also going to play Evenly Matched. I decided right at the last minute, take out Evenly Matched, increase my count of Twin Twisters to 3 rather than 2, and then I took out, for the other Evenly Matched, I put in Darklord Testable Poker. The reason you put Testable Poker in is if you're facing against someone that likes to destroy your field, you can use Testable Poker to deal with it, because the one thing that Darklords currently don't have is they've got target protection, they don't have destruction protection. So yeah, there's a lot to consider, and I mean, I'm happy with my choice. Like, at the end of the day, I'm going to learn one or two things. I'm either going to learn that people don't know what Darklord do at all, or I'm going to learn that Darklord just can't compete with the current matchups. Now, obviously, there's going to be loads of different matchups. There was a couple of different. I was like, always with the side deck, I'm always like, oh, should I, shouldn't I? Right at the last minute, Terry suggested Ghost Ogre, so I put Ghost Ogre in. And you always kind of like curry down to what the particular cards can hit. And we were like, okay, so what would you chain Ghost Ogre to? What does Ghost Ogre effective to? And we were like, right, well, it's good against the Vanquish Soulfield spell. It's good against the Radiant Trap card. It could be good against in other scenarios as well. There's cards which like normal summon use the effect. And you're like, right, okay, well, if I Ghost Ogre you can't do anything. Sometimes people just need their monster to stick. The only other card that I might regret not having is Sanctified Darklord, which is the target negation. And ultimately I just felt that, for me anyway, through playing and testing and everything else, Enchantment has just felt so much better. Like taking control of the monster, yes, you let their card resolve, but sometimes taking control of the monster is something that people just aren't expecting. And you know what you do when you test and you test and you test and you test, you test against the most common interactions, the most common theories. So the most common interactions, common theories is like, oh, okay, I got impermed, or oh, okay, I got purged, or veiled, or target negation, but you still have the body on the board. Whereas I think that's where Ghost Ogre can sometimes come into play. It's also where Enchantment can come into play as well. And Enchantment can also be quite aggressive, because I can use Enchantment to kind of take one of my opponent's monsters and then, or threaten, like during my turn, because Enchantment doesn't target, use Enchantment to try and take one of my opponent's monsters, and then they're like, okay, I have to interact now, or I don't know what you could possibly take. And if the end field is stuff like Desiree and that, it can become very damaging for them. So testing it out. I would have also put, and I might put it even now or in between as a build up, my entry packs. My entry packs are tragic. So obviously we went up at different times, so these didn't all come from the same box, but Terry pulled a secret Lucinia, Shane pulled a Starlight Dracotel, the fusion monster, and me and Matt both got 4 supers each. So it wasn't ideal, but you know, I'm not coming to a regional just for the packs. Like, the packs may get benefit, and the packs are like, cool, if I pull good and I lose, whatever. But it's all about fun. Like, that's really what I'm here for. It's a bit of fun. I think it's the second regional of the season. The last regional I went with was Enneacraft, and that was in Peterborough. That went really bad, but I already knew that, because I was like, I'm taking Enneacraft just to watch my opponent read the card put it down, and then pick it back up and read it again when something happens. And I think what Neocraft's going to do next format post Blazing Dominions, they're going to catch a lot of people off guard, because it's going to be one of the ones that if you don't respect it and you don't read it, cards are really going to start catching you out, because there'll be cards where it's like, wait, it's not once per turn, or wait, you chain block and I can't build chains at all, and you're like, yeah, that's exactly it. So it's gone very quiet back down there. I'm just having a look now to see when people are going in, but like I said, I think they're planning to go for quarter past. There's still some people that need to submit deck list and everything else in between. I'm just gonna have a bit of fun. I will try and come out and give you updates after every round. Can't guarantee it. If not, it'll be like a group at the end. I'll be like, right, okay, round 1 was this, round 2 was this, da 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 da, and I'll try and remember it for like the deck profile at the end, because it is a bit of an updated list. There's a couple of cards that I've changed, and I think it's also a list that I haven't presented on the channel yet either, with the sulfur chords, and I can give you my like overall feeling in regards to sulfur chords and everything else in between. I do need to make one more change to my deck, which is I've added in Access Code Talker. I don't know if that's going to be a good choice or not. It's just one of the ones where I was like, well, if I'm not playing Super Polarization, I might as well have a variety. So rather than playing 2 of the first Darklords, which I may regret, I'm going to play 1 and 1 Access Code. And the idea behind that one is, with Sulfur Chords, once they've done their job, I can then link up and go into Access Code. Other than that, they don't really serve an on-field purpose. So yeah, I don't know. It's either going to win or it's going to work or it's not. Or maybe I just never see. Maybe I never resolve the Sulfur Chord combo. Touch wood. I hope that isn't the case. And then, you know, Access Code might be a game changer. I just don't know. I feel that once you resolve the Sulfur Chords, though. Oh, there we go. Flip to the wrong screen. Once you resolve Sulfur Chords, though, I'm pretty sure that's kind of like it. Like, you should be winning from that point on. Especially if you get to the full combo, like if you go on uninterrupted. But in today's game, like I've seen a couple of deck lists from like Shane and all of that the other like last night, and some of the deck lists I've been sent across, people are on like 15 to 18 hand traps or hand interactions. You're like, yeah, okay, cool. You're telling me you're not seeing a combo of like 2, if not 3 of those, and then your deck just needs to be resilient to either not care about those particular hand interactions or play through those hand interactions. So it's going to be interesting to see. Anyway, I'm going to go back in so that I don't miss the start. That would be pretty ironic. But I will catch you all with whatever update I possibly can. And like I said, I'll try and get out as much as I can, because this sun is beautiful. We don't get it often in the UK, so I'm going to enjoy it while I can. Anyway, I'll catch you all in a bit. Okay, so round 2, finally got a bit of a breather. Round 1 and 2 just went straight back to back. Both rounds were magnets, both rounds I lost. So round 1, I don't remember what happened round 1. I think round 1 they just basically, I tried to stop Nat Beast, but I tried to stop it at the wrong point, and they just revived Researcher, made Nat Beast, and that's it. Like, my hand was Fallen the Virtuous and another spell. So that's when I was like ruin not playing Super Polarization. I was like, god damn it. Round 2 I won. Round 3, sorry, not round 3, sorry, game 3. I had the first Darklord set up. Now the sun comes out. I had the first Darklord set up, so that was going to like field wipe. And there was like by the time I passed it back to him, there was like a minute left on the clock, and they were trying to Exiton field wipe me, and then they would have used like the Gusto Emerald to just keep looping back resource. And I was like, okay, this is just going to go on forever. The job was watching my table, like the table, and I just said, like, okay, 30 seconds left. I was like, I concede. Okay, there's better off me having a loss than a double loss. If this is even true, I don't even know anymore. And then round 2 again was straight against magnets. My opening hand was QTR, 2 Fualos, an Ash, and something I couldn't use. Can't remember what it was. Oh, Herald of the Orange Light. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, I have to normal summon the QTR to get plays going, and I've got no other fairy in the hand. He summoned down the big machine guy, Magna plus whatever, and I was like, hey, okay, cool. Scoop, go game 2. Game 2 I won, and then game 3, kind of a little bit annoyed at myself, but so game 3, he ends on a Baguska and 1 set. So I drop Perulia. He ends on Baguska and 1 set, and I'm like, right, okay. Worrying that the 1 set was like a droplet. He had a Ghost Spell in the hand, so I was eyeing up Proxy F, and I was eyeing up the Agent, the Moon, because I was like, okay, well I can go Agent the Moon, sacrifice the Agent, destroy the spell or trap. I go into Darklord, and I should have done it that way, but I was so worried about I know he had Ghost Bow in the hand. He stopped Ghost Bow on one of my cards, but I had to make Proxy F Magician. So he accidentally revealed the Ghost Bell earlier in the turn when I was trying to search from deck. And I was alright, I know he's got Ghost Bell, so if I use Dance, I just get Ghost Belled, and I don't do anything. So I had to make Proxy F. Proxy F then makes the Fuse. So I made the Fuse, got into the Evening Star, did the play there, and I was looking at it, I was like, do I go Herald or Mirage? I was like, okay, well, if it's Herald or Mirage, he needs to send a monster to negate. I only red dropped it, I didn't read Super Volley. And then I got greedy, and I used Contact to bring back Yugioh. I was like, right, okay, well, what I can do is I can go to the battle phase. If he's got any card that is a droplet or a floating card, I can use Yugioh to replicate, Dance, go into the first Darklord, and then win from there. So I was trying to win that turn. But what I should have done is I should have looked to see like what actual resource he had, and the only thing he had was Delusion. So ultimately I just ran head first into Super Volley. He activated Super Volley, made Garura, and I was like, ugh, okay. So I lost my first Evening Star, and then I lost Yugioh. I had the trap card set. I had Herald of Mirage Light with one fairy in the hand, and then I had Proxy F, and I was facing down all he had left was Garura and top deck, and then he had Delusion in the graveyard. So I used SP to banish so I dropleted the Baguska. I used SP to banish the Baguska, and I was just like, okay. But I probably didn't play it that well. Like after that Super Poly, I was like, damn, I should have read that. I should have kind of like, probably should have played around it. But then it went to top decks. He top decked, so I had SP, I had Droplet, and then I had a Promoter in the hand. I didn't really want to use Promoter, but anyway, so he top decks the Magnet Warrior that lets you reveal to fuse. So he summons out Delusion, activates the Magnet Warrior to let him fuse with only Garura on the field. I was like, right, okay, well, if I get rid of Delusion, he can't fuse. He chained Delusion to try and pop. So I went reveal in the hand. I went, okay, SP, target itself and target Delusion. Then he chained the Delusion to target to destroy the SP. And then I was like, for some reason I used Droplet when I don't think I had anything more. No, the promo was just a dead fairy. Anyway, and then I top deck Droll. So it just kind of shows the difference. Like one person top decks a card that unlocks their field with the right setup. The other one top deck to Droll, and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, can't do anything with that one. So yeah, I ended up losing that one. 10 minutes left on the round. I don't know. It's weird. I can't. Like the fact that my duels have been 2-1s kind of shows that the deck can do well. And obviously it's only against 2 magnets. I would have to go. I can't go anywhere the entire day because I've lent cards to some players, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need to get them card back. So I'm gonna be stuck here for the day. I can either keep battling out on the Darklords, or I obviously like scoop it up and go, okay, cool, I'll go walk around Norwich town centre until 4 o'clock or whatever. I haven't decided anything yet. It sounds a bit down. I'm going to go back in, and hopefully I'll be coming back out and be like, oh yeah, round 3, yeah. But I don't know. Like I misplayed in duel 2 because I was looking at. I summoned out and the worst thing is I'd practiced this combo over and over and over again. And I was like, right, okay, cool. So I've already used my normal summon. I've already used. I need to use Gulgullet to get Dance. And I was like, right, okay, cool. So I go into Indulge Darklord. I give my opponent a monster. I add one. I was like, right, okay. So I've already used Yugioh, so I can't use Yugioh. But my plan is go into the Agent Creation Moon, use Moon, destroy the Gulgullet that I give my opponent. That Gulgullet then searches me the Dance then banishes, and off we go. And I knew what I was doing. And instead I went, okay, give you Yugioh, and I add Gulgullet. And I went, continue to make play, and I went, no, that's the wrong way around. So I kind of like just threw my head off at that one, and then running into Super Poly. It's just a bit disappointing, really, because I was eyeing up the Agent of Moon instead of the Herald of Mirage, and if I'd chosen to go to the Agent of Moon, the Agent of Moon then would have been able to go, cool, Agent of Moon effect, tribute itself off, destroy the set card, and then I activate contact. Contact brings back Yugioh. Go battle. I wouldn't have won that turn, but I would have been able to go cool battle phase. Morningstar attacks the. I mean, they might have still been able to super poly because I would have had. I think I would no, because Proxy F is fire, so they wouldn't have been able to super poly. Would have attacked the. Killed the Baguska with Even Star, and then I could have afforded to then use contact, bring back Yugioh. Yugioh could then like snowball a little bit. So like Yugioh could then use the effect, bring back another Darklord. So then I'd have free fodder off of the back of Rebellion, and then I would have had the ability to replicate Dance during my opponent's turn, and then clear. I don't know if I had Morningstar in the grave, but either way, just played it a little bit badly. Told you, I'm going to regret Super Poly one way or another. Whether it's me playing Super Poly or whether it's Super Poly being used against me, I would have been like, damn it. Trying to think how many times I've seen the Fallen Virtuous. I think I've seen the Fallen Virtuous a couple of times. The only reason that I was half tempted by Super Poly is like that discard for cost. Not that they can stop Super Poly, that's another thing as well. In fact, they can't stop Super Poly. I was more worried that I would have too many discards. Like Herald of the Orange Light plus discards, it just would have got a little bit costly. So the soft core package is kind of as I expected. If it goes off and you go full play, you're in dreamland. It's good that it baits out interactions as well. Is really, really good, but I don't know. Bit of a weird one. Anyway, we're going to be going back in a minute. I think there was only 10 minutes left of time, so they'll probably finish that, and then they're moving quite quickly to try and get round 3 in and then continue from there. So hopefully I'll be back out with an update that'll be a little bit more positive than this. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, so while it's quiet, yes, I did finish my round really, really early. I thought I'd show you the store. It's a really nice kind of store. It's got like 3 floors. And then we were talking to one of the staff members out here, and they were like, yeah, on the top floor is like an old bar or something. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, you can try and see like they've got a bit of pretty much everything. They've got a really nice store downstairs as well. So like the first floor is like the event space with tables and everything. And then they've got a downstairs. I'll quickly flip you around, but you've got like a downstairs down there. I'm not going to go in there in case there are people in there that don't want to be filmed, which is fair enough. But yeah, down there is like their actual store. The store's really good. It's got like everything. You already saw on the window there's different anime stuff. Anyway, you're here for the update. Round 3, round 4. I thought I was on the... Obviously, there's only 6 rounds. It's like just over 60 players. The sun's still out, as you can tell. Definitely come down the wrong part. Yeah, so round 3, I was up against Enneacraft. And obviously I got really lucky that I won the dice roll on that one, because if I didn't win the dice roll I probably would have lost. Basically duel 1, I set up my field, no interruptions, and I'm like, I've got a soft core combo and everything. Like the one time I open up full combo, like it's in a duel with no disrespect, but like just went off and ended up winning that one. And then duel number 2, they went off unanswered. The 6th draw was Herald of the Orange Light. I was like, well, that's going to be no use to me, because they started with D-Fissure. I was like, okay, cool. That shuts down quite a lot of my stuff. I opened up both the trap cards, so Enchantment and Rebellion, plus Droplets, Yugioh, and then something else as well. Like, it was just crazy. And they had D-Fissure. They opened up the Dynamorphia Pharesia, so they were playing the Dynamorphia version of Enneacraft. So went Enneacraft search, did all the searching, set up the targeted protection, and then went on from there. And then duel number 3, basically, I went first, set up everything, had an Iron Thunder set, had Twin Twisters set, had Crown set, and then they went, they tried to play, and then they flipped up the Mar, and then I went Iron Thunder on the Mar, and they were like, I wasn't expecting the Iron Thunder. So they were unable to break the field and I ended up winning from there. Then we went into round number 4. Round number 4 was like against Malice. I was like, oh, great. But the worst thing about it was I lost the dice roll. My opponent went first, starts up with Chessy Cat banish, and basically just went off. I had like no interactions whatsoever. Oh wait, that was it. They went Chessy Cat and then they went Chain Shifter. It's like, okay, you just want it more than me. So Chain Shifter, let them build their field, came back to me, and I was like, okay, let me see what I can actually do actively. I looked at my hand, I was like, okay, I can't do anything on the shifter. They ended up on a Firewall with a bounce 1. It wasn't like anything like that impressive, if I'm being totally honest. but they opened up, like, they ended up with Firewall with a bounce 1, they had Crypta with a banish, and then they had the MTP07. So I was like, okay, so it's, at the least they got a 2 banish and 1 bounce, and my hand was like, meh, not worth playing on the shifter. And then duel number 2, I decided to go first. My hand is 2 Gorglets, 1 Morningstar, Rebellion, and Jehuti. So I'm like, okay, cool. So if they have any interaction whatsoever that stops Jehuti, I've got nothing. Normal summon Jehuti, Ash. I'm like, okay. And then set the Rebellion pass to them, activate Rebellion, send Gorgullet to destroy the Chessy Cat. So normal summon Chessy Cat, destroy the Chessy Cat. And then they go, okay, they opened up Gold Sark, and then they also opened up Wizard. So I was like, okay, so you got Gold Sark, banish 1, banish Dormouse, summon Dormouse, Dormouse banish White Rabbit summons. I was like, okay, so technically they don't have access to the 3rd one yet. Then they linked both off and then had opened up the Wizard. I was like, okay, sometimes you just want it more. So wasn't really a lot I could do on that one. Did what I could, but you know, it was a really quick duel. It was probably like 5 minutes, to be honest, because under shifter you're like, okay, cool, I can't do a lot. And then when they just open up the one of, you kind of just go like, when you open up a hand as not even cloggy, like, because it wasn't cards, like the cards that I added into the deck, I don't think it would have made a difference, is what I'm trying to say. Like, no matter how I change, if someone said to me, oh, okay, well the deck should be a 40 card list, I'm like, okay, so I'll take out the 5 cards, but it doesn't change the cards that I drew, like the cards I started with. So yeah, just one of them really. So there's only 6 rounds. There's going to be another 2 rounds in a minute. I say in a minute, but like that's probably got like half an hour. We went and grabbed lunch on the last one. So there's another 2 rounds, and then after those 2 rounds, obviously we'll see the winners. Actually, ironically, and something I wanted to bring out is the Enneacraft player was the same person I faced last year, who was on Yugioh. And I remember him for the pure... I'm 99% sure it's him anyway, so apologies if it's not. But I remember him because he had the same... he basically chose a deck to play that he didn't need to put much thought in, because he had a good Saturday night, basically. But yeah, it was really fun. I enjoyed it, and it put in a lot of work. So I don't know if there's anything I would change, because when I'm looking at matchups, apart from round 2 where I ran into the Sewer Poly, and my opponent, by the way, the opponent that I ran into the Sewer Poly, I think they're either X1 or XO. So that just kind of shows you how quick the tide turns. Like, I saw them in the previous round and they were up against Blue Eyes. I was like, oh, that could have been me. And then I saw the Blue Eyes opponent that he faced was next to me on table 29 or something. So I'm probably going to end up on table 30. It is literally just going to be a crawl to the end of the day. Two more rounds I'll keep playing. Eventually it just gets to a point where you're not... It's not as if you're misplaying, and it's not as if you're like clogging horribly due to the way you built. It's just one of the ones where it's like, just luck's not on your side. And I think when stuff like that happens, you have to just go, it's just not on my side kind of vibe. Like, if I had played Radiant Typhoon and maybe under shifter, maybe shifter, and like wouldn't be that big of an issue. I'm just trying to think, like, against... If I was on Radiance, if I had to take it back, and I haven't seen a lot of Radiance out there, by the way, but I have been on the lower end of the table, so I can't lie. If I was to take it back, and if I was to choose to play Radiance today instead, actually, I've got a bottle, let me put this in the bin. There's a bin right there. And I decided to play Radiance instead, but I had the same matchups. Well, I can't really say I would have the same matchups, because I could have won round 1, I could have won round 2, like, it would have been a little bit different. So... yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's anything that's too regretful. Like, I'm happy playing Darklords. I'm happy that I was playing Iron Thunders. A lot of people are like, I didn't expect Iron Thunders. The only thing that I would probably reconsider, as we get someone that needs to rev up their bike, but anyway, I think the only thing I'd probably reconsider would maybe be the version of Darklords. But I like Herald of the Orange Light too much. But then, quite possibly, I could have very easily played pure Darklords. You open up 9 spaces in the main deck. That would then become... so, off those 9 spaces, if 5 of those become... like, you cut the deck down to 40. And the irony is, Terry, who's I think he's X1, on table 12 or something, is facing Darklords with Sulphur Chords. So it just kind of shows you how like interchangeable it is in a sense. Like one person probably playing nearly the exact same list is up there, and I'm playing a little bit lower. So yeah, trying to think what. So if you cut the 9 cards, you open up 4 spaces in the main deck. Those 4 and you open up 2 spaces in the extra deck. I would probably make those 4 spaces. I'd want Dominus Impulse, and if I'm going to play Dominus Impulse, they would be swapped out for the Herald of the Orange Lights. So just a straight swap of those. And then I would probably, those remaining 4 slots would be 3 Super Polymerization. I would go back to playing 3 Fawn and the Virtuous. And then kind of go from there, to be honest. So maybe that's what I need to consider. Maybe it's Dominus Impulse instead of Herald of the Orange Light. The only downside to that is you take away 3, 6, 7, 8. You take away 8 starters. You take away 8 starters in the form of the soft core cards, and you're not adding 8 starters. You're adding, when you cut it down to 40, you're adding. I suppose you increase your consistency. So you could technically argue that you take 5 cards away, so you're adding a bit more consistency to the deck. But then you're also just not adding more starters. I don't know. Bit of food for thought. Anyway, sun's out. I'm going to go drift around, find out what's left. 2 rounds, power for it. Just kind of learn some ins and outs, have a good time. I mean, it's just fun at the end of the day. It's a shame that this is the only region I've been able to get to this season. I would have liked to have gone to Peterborough yesterday, but I would already made plans. And I suppose if I'd gone Peterborough yesterday, I would have tested out this deck and gone, oh, maybe it's not right. But, you know, to each their own. Sometimes people end up facing like meta on round 1, sometimes they face rogue, sometimes they face an amazing player, sometimes they face a local player. Like, obviously there are levels in everything about it, but all fun and games. I don't think Shane's doing that great. I'll check out of him in a minute. And then another important thing is make sure you report your results, because if you don't report the results, you're going to get double game loss. And a double game loss can really change the tide of everything. Anyway, I'm going to be back in a second, hopefully with not the third and final part, but the final part of the vlog. And then the next part will be like the profile laid out and everything else for you to see. And I can tell you what went right, what didn't go right, and go from there. Anyway, I'll be back in a second. Okay, so back from the event, and it didn't go that great. So I went X2. So my final 2 rounds, the round number 5 was against Mitsu. They just set up a field that I couldn't really break, so we went into game 2. In game 2, I was able to win that, and then in game number 3, they just opened up. I was like, I'm not going to put draw in. Like, what are the chances they're going to see Preparation of Rights? They opened up Preparation of Rights. I was like, right, okay, cool. They do full field, and then I do a search, and they went draw. And I'm like, okay, I guess you just wanted it more. No, but like they just kind of is what it is. I didn't really, feel. Dogs go crazy in the background. I didn't really feel that I got outplayed. It kind of just was one of them ones. But then, to be fair, the whole day was kind of like that. My final round was against Cyber Dragon K9, and my opponent just bricked. I went off unanswered, and both games kind of just leads to where you kind of go, really. So there's not really a lot that can kind of be said about that. Overall, what are my thoughts on the deck? So I'll take you through the list in front of you so you can kind of see everything that I played. I'll show you some side deck options and the extra deck and everything else in between as well. So for the main deck, let's go with the Darklords, hand traps, Darklord cards, hand traps, Darklord cards, and then just breakers. So I'll try and break it down that way. That wasn't in the main deck. So my overall thoughts. Good question. I still really like the deck. I have no issue with the deck. I just feel like I kind of got unlucky, and I know this, like, everyone's going to say that, but there are kind of times when I look back on the duels. It's like, right, okay, so if I made a misplay, I need to learn from it. And then there are times where I'll look back on the duels and be like, right, okay, is there something on the deck list that could change? And I don't think there's anything in the deck list that would change for the fact of what would have affected me. So let me just get these back in. There's definitely another card that shouldn't be in the main deck as well. So I'll find that in a second. Darklord card, and then these. So, it's Ghost Ogres. Let me get my head straight on these ones. There we go. Ghost Ogres come out the side. There we go. Right, fine. So, I mean, I wasn't disappointed with how the deck performed. I just think that there were times where I was just unlucky. Like there were times where my opponent's field went off unanswered. There was times where my opponent top decked better than me. There was times where they just had, my hand was weak and they just had the exact right interaction for it. So like with the Darklord cards, I have no issue with these two cards. Like there was no point where I was like, right, Sanctified was needed as opposed to, like I would always go for Rebellion. Rebellion was like the first one I'd go for. So I have no issue. I didn't miss Sanctified is what I'm saying. Contact you're always going to play at 1. Banishment you're always going to play at 3. And Dance you play at 1 or 2. I was happy with 1. I don't think I need to play any more than that. So this I'm happy with. Gorgullet at 3. I think that's a no-brainer to play that at 3. Ixchill at 3. I think some people don't like playing it at 3. I personally do. I think it's a really good card. 1 Morning Star, 3 Jehuti, and 1 Indulge. Like, these are all staple. I can't think of a scenario, maybe the argument of an Ixchill, but even then, I was actually quite happy with the ratios. I never had an issue where seeing these cards, like you don't want to see this, you don't want to see this, you don't really want to see Dance. But I never had an issue with this ratio. So, quite happy with that. Moving on to the extenders in the form of the Sulphur Chords. So Sulphur Chords, 3 Happiness. Again, this is pretty standard. 3 Happiness, 3 Dawn Angel can be, 2 Promoa, 1 Solfeggio, 1 QTR. And then I was on the Hyperion card. Now, this was something that I saw and I ummed and ahed about it last minute. Honestly, I don't think it's needed. It was one of the ones that I was so worried that Themesmith were going to be absolutely everywhere. There's like, oh, it'd be nice to have a main deck card that can control the graveyard. Honestly, I think I saw it once and it just wasn't worth it. So this cut straight away. Like that's my first bit of feedback on this day. I just cut that straight away. Then if I'm looking at this, right, and I mentioned this on one of the previous vlog moments, I am quite tempted to either take this entire package out and play the Azamina package. So you'd play, yes, it'd be a bit boring, but honestly, you're playing this card and you're playing this card for this package. Whereas straight away that could become a Dragoon, a Dark Magician of Destruction, and then you do have space in the extra deck to play the Ilia Sylvia. So I'm like, well, this would be 3 Witches. This would be 3 Wanted. This would be 1 Gaze, 1 Deception, and 1 Hollowed. So then that frees up 2 more spaces. They could be whatever I want them to be. And like, I can just imagine discarding off of Goon a Golgullet would be godly, or sending a Golgullet off of Witch would also be godly as well. So I would not be opposed to that. That's something to consider. Alternative as well, the other thing about the Azamina that I like is that it's all dark. So again, that means that the Herald of the Orange Light doesn't get affected. It means where I was like, well, these are nice because they're additional fairies for the Herald of the Orange Light, it actually goes, well, the one thing I did find when I was playing the Herald of the Orange Light is that the discard sometimes would actually cost me. If the discard wasn't Golgullet or a card that I wanted in my graveyard, it would actually come back and bite me in the backside pretty hard. So that might be the next thing I test out with Darklords. If I want to keep going with Darklords, it might be as simple as put the Azamina package in, give it a go. Even if I play 3 Wanted and then 2 Witches or whatnot, it could be something that's worthwhile. And I think have I got everything here? Yeah, I think I might have everything here, apart from the Gaze. The Gaze is in the side deck somewhere. So I could see that going in, and it could be something that could be worth testing. I can't think of a downside to it yet, because you're always going to start off with the Azamina package. I can't imagine there's a point where you don't start with the Azamina package. And it does the exact same thing that the Sulphur Chord package does, is it gets you to that Omni Negate. It can technically get you to 2 Omni Negates. It gets you to a bit of draw power. It also then gets you to a lot stronger monsters to deal with than the Grand Sulphur Chord Coolia. So that's something that I might test out, is taking these out for those. And then, like I said, it then mitigates the issue of the Herald of the Orange Light being the discard. And I loved Herald of the Orange Light. The amount of time people were like, what? But I just think like Dominus Impulse is probably better. I think that's probably where I went a little bit wrong. But there must be a reason that people aren't playing the Azamina package, because everyone does say that the Sulphur Chord version is the best version. And then I'm like, okay, I agree with you, but, you know, where's the... Why are people not thinking of the Azamina package? For the hand traps, 3 Herald of the Orange Light, 3 Fuelos, 2 Ghost Spell, and 3 Ash. I actually found Ash to be less effective. I really did. Like, when I saw Ash, I was like, you know what? I actually found myself siding an Ash out sometimes. I was just like, it's just not, no, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you wouldn't play Ash. Like, you still play Ash, it's still a staple card in my opinion. But honestly, it just didn't feel as effective as it could have been. There was a couple of times where I saw Herald with no Fairy, which is annoying, and there was a couple of times where I saw Fuos as like my 6th draw, and it's just like, it is kind of part of what it is. There is something I've seen where they, like, you don't main deck the Fuas. If I was to do something like that and not main deck the Fuas, I would main deck a Breaker, and I would main deck something like Super Polymerization. But then I feel that if I'm playing the Azamina package and Super Polymerization, that's probably a little bit too much. I'd probably play Super Polymerization in a pure build. And if anything, I would probably max out on the next cards I'm about to show you. So these were the non-engine. Keep in mind that this is up to 45 cards. And I never felt that I bricked on... Like, I never saw cards that I'd added in to make it 45 that were the bricks. I wasn't like, oh, this is not nice. I would just brick on the normal cards anyway that you kind of want to be burying. So, and then for the other non-engine, I was on 2 Fallen and the Virtuous, 2 Forbidden Droplet, and 1 Forbidden Crown. The reason I went with this ratio is that I quite like the idea of Crown being another option to search instead of Droplet. Like, Droplet is great, going second, always searching Droplet. But I was like, if I went first, I could actually search the Crown, and that gave me another way to play for an Nibiru. And there's also times where maybe I didn't have as much resource to send with Droplet as I would have liked, and that's where Crown could come into play. 2 Fallen and Virtuous, I never saw it anywhere near as much, and this was just a last-minute decision that I decided to take out of Fallen and the Virtuous to put in the Hyperion, wherever I put it. Because I was so worried about graveyard control, honestly, this would be the 3rd Fallen and the Virtuous. Or I would just take this out completely and start to work my way back down to a 40-card deck. So. Then let's go for the extra deck. So I think the extra deck is pretty staple or standard. So the 2 soft-core cards, you don't need to play any more of this. I was on 2 Condemned Darklords. I never went through 2. 1 was always enough. Axis Code Talker was the card that I put in right at the last minute instead of playing a second the first Darklords, and never saw it, never needed it. Like I've said, if you resolved and get to Yugioh, you win that duel. Because by the time it comes back to you, you'll end up having a First of the Darklords at 5k and a Morning Star at 4k, or like an Evening Star at 4k. Like, you've got the game there, so I don't need Access Code. So this becomes like a free space. The other links I was playing was Herald of the Mirage Light, SP Little Knight, Proxy F Magician, which actually came up once, and a Protector of the Ancient Moons. I'm actually happy with these cards. I don't think they need to be anything else. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of happy with those. For the XEs, I only played 1 Typhon, never summoned it. Kind of can live without it, to be honest. 1 Ecclesia, 1 Albion, which are your targets to be sent off for Fallen and the Virtuous. And then 2 Evening Star and 1 First of the Darklord. The second Evening Star comes up, which is why I was happy with 2. The second First Darklord didn't, but I could see where it could come up. Honestly, I can just see myself going, cool, Ilya Sylvia, Dragoon, and D-Mod is there. And then if I want to be risky, I would go, cool, this now becomes Rusiliago. And then if I want a bit more flex spots, the Typhon would be the next one I'd look at. I like the idea of Proxy F. Like, if I know my opponent's got Ghost Bell, which, again, more times than not, if I do the D-Mod play and I decide to link off the D-Mod play, then maybe I don't need to worry about it so much. I suppose the only issue is, like, D-Mod play, maybe I don't need to use it as link material, because the D-Mod play, I can't really go into any of these apart from an SP Little Knight. But, again, going into an SP Little Knight turn 0 is not the end of the world. You could also consider this could be an IP Masquerena and use your D-Mod and then 1 other monster to go into an IP. And that might give you something to kind of play against. But, yeah, I mean, there's a couple, like you can see with these blanks here, there's a couple of cards that I would be happy to sub out. And I think that's where testing the Azamina package is going to be something that's worthwhile. Finally, the side deck. So, side deck, shout out to Terry on the suggestion of Ghost Ogre. So I put these in. I didn't have an issue with it, to be honest. I don't mind having it. I played a lot of 2-ofs, and that's probably where it bit me. Like, it probably didn't bite me, but where it wasn't as good as I could have been. Like, Droll, I could only play at 2 anyway. Nibiru was at 2. Never really saw it. I was playing the 1 Tespala Poker. It's good. Like, I don't mind it. But again, I really only put this in here for the Mitsu matchup, and then I gambled it against the Mitsu matchup and discarded it when I should have kept it. I never actually used it as its effect to protect, but I can imagine that if I did it, my opponent would be like, what? So I don't mind having it at 1, but if this could become a 3rd, probably not a 3rd Ogre, but maybe either I mean, maybe a 3rd Perulia or a 3rd Nibiru. I wouldn't have minded that. So that doesn't really bother me that much. And then I was on 3 Twin Twisters. I saw it once in the Enneacraft matchup, but didn't need it. And the card that I probably saw the most and put in the most work was Iron Thunder. Purely because every time I activated and resolved this, my opponent was in like a state of shock for like a minute. And it was like, then the duel would finish and I would have won that one. And they'd always say, I just wasn't expecting Iron Thunder. So I think that post Blazing Dominion, this probably becomes the new Solemn card. But for now, it was just a card that really catches a lot of people off guard. And you're like, oh, yo, Iron Thunder. Wasn't expecting that. Most people play around the column because they think it's an imperm, and I forgot that it destroys my own cards in my column as well, so that could have bit me in the backside, but it didn't. But like in the Enneacraft matchup, I put it into the scale zones, but then in typical fashion, you put the Enneacraft, like they would always put the Enneacraft in the opposite zone because they think it's an imperm when it's not. But even then, once they put a monster on the field, I activate the Iron Thunder and destroy everything in its column. So that secondary part never came up, but the negation did come up, and the counter track just ends it then and there. So yeah. I feel, as my overall thoughts of the tournament, Athena Games, really like the place. I think that the venue itself is really nice. The organizer is really nice. The judges were really good as well. The event went terribly for me, but it didn't go terribly in a sense like... So what I say is it was always something good to remember when you're like refreshing, or even after a round, okay? You have to get yourself into a mindset that sometimes luck is just not on your side. Now, I'm not using that as a good excuse, but what I'm trying to say is you need to get yourself into a position where if you make a misplay, you can beat yourself up a little bit about it, but you learn from it and make sure you don't do it the next time. If your opponent just outdraws you, or if you just brick, you will be a little bit salty in general. You'll be like, God damn it, my deck's betrayed me, or God damn it, my opponent just had better luck than me. But then you have to kind of very instantly go, there's nothing I can do. Like nothing I could do, no matter how I shuffle my deck, no matter how, maybe if I didn't cut my opponent's deck into 3 equal components and lay them on top, they wouldn't have got like, it's no point in overthinking that type of stuff. You just take it, bite the bullet and go, right, cool, on to the next round. And to be honest, I had a really nice tournament. Just some of the matchups, all of my matchups. So my matchups were just trying to do like a full refresh as I tidy up a stack of cards to my side. So round 1 was against Magnets. So that was a 2-1 loss, and that one went to time. Round 2 was again a 2-1 loss against Magnets. So the deck's bringing people close. Round 3 was Enneacraft, and that was a 2-1 win. Round 4 was, and again, you would have watched this video back, so you'll know what exactly the rounds were off the top of my head. So apologies if I miss any off. Round 4 was a loss, but I'm trying to remember what it was again. Oh, Malice. That one was just brutal. Like, literally, open up Shifter, sure. Open up Gold Sark, sure. That was a very, very swift 2-0 loss. And I was just like, that's just kind of part and part how it goes for it. Round 5 was a 2-1 loss against Mitsu. So again, not saying that Mitsu was the top meta, but like, Mitsu went off unanswered, couldn't break it. I went off, had interactions, was able to play through it a bit. They had more interactions, was still able to play through it and took it to game 3. Game 3, they played for a couple of interactions. And then, game 1, they also played through interactions. So can't say there was no interactions. Game 3, they just played for interactions. They had the draw to back it all up. And I was like, right, okay, cool. That kind of is what it is. And then round 5 was a 2-0 win. My opponent just bricked horribly, and he's like, okay, well, sadly, the last round of the day is when my opponents get a little bit unlucky, but kind of is what it is. I enjoy the deck. I do feel that I'm gonna test without the Sulphur Chords and then put the Azaminas in, because just as a quick look at it, as my dog is going crazy in the background, so I can't spend too much longer on it. Hello, darling. I'll be with you in 2 seconds. Let Daddy. No. Okay, cool. Come on in. You want to steal the show again, don't you? Just please don't knock my microphone off as I finish this up. So you're gonna help Daddy finish this off, yeah? So just if we take a very, very quick look, Hyperion, it's not a card you want to see in your hand, so I'd put this as down as a brick. This can be a bit of a combo starter because it searches you out this and you special in this down and off you go. These 3 are obviously your combo pieces with discards. This is a combo piece without using your normal summon, and then this will be a normal summon but as a combo piece as well. You ready to go down, dear? Okay. There you go, my darling. Right, yeah, okay. So these are your combo pieces. So if I'm just to compare these direct with with the wanted package, right? So you've got your consistency piece. I suppose the one thing that I do remember of why you wouldn't play the wanted package is that it doesn't bridge into Darklord. So you have to open up a Darklord card to do it. I think that's why when I tested it, if I remember rightly, I tested it. I was like, okay, this is missing something, and it was missing the bridge. Do you mind, darling? So these are technically your starters. So in theory, I guess these kind of replace these 3 here and these 3 here. And then you've got your 4 cards here. 2 you could sacrifice, but then you've got not so much a Brick and Deception, but still a card, like, still adds you to Hollowed. So I suppose you still get the play here. It just doesn't get you your demod access. And then you've got all the other pieces down here as well. So I don't know. There are some parts where it just doesn't click. Maybe that's something that does need to, maybe it doesn't work. Maybe I just go back to pure, as I mentioned like previously. Maybe I just go back to pure and I play in the spaces of here. I still like the idea of Canby, because at least Canby, even if I was just to play this as 4 cards, Canby bridges into the Sulphur Cord. Not the Sulphur Cord, sorry, the Condemned Darklord. So then that would get you everything you need to. That opens up the Darklord. That's the whole idea behind this. Whereas if this is becoming Dominus, the Herald of the Orange becomes Dominus Impulse, and then if this just becomes cut 5 completely, gets me down to 40, I've then got 6 cards to play around with that can become something in one way or another. Anyway, that's something for me to be testing on the testing floor. I guess maybe those 6 cards don't become anything. Maybe it is literally just the 3 Canby, the 1 Trickstar, and then I've got 2 more cards to open up, which can become the 3rd Forbidden Droplet and the 3rd... actually, I'll tell you what they could be. They could become double... Is it double straights? Where's the card that I had? Like, this was a card that I was considering. Maybe that's what it needs to be. Do I have my cards over here? I don't think I've got them over here. There it is. Double Wild. Maybe that's what they become. Maybe it becomes, like, no Canby. Maybe the Canby gets replaced with Double Wild. They're my extension cards. So they're my ways of getting access. But I still need to target level 4 or lower. Level 5 or lower, sorry. So maybe you just go Canby and then add. Special down the Canby. Maybe you'll keep the Canby. Maybe it's this. Maybe those 2 are the cards here. So we cut out the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Puts us back down to 40. Then we've got 2 more cards to play with. No, I've just added those in here. So that's the 2 cards there. And then you keep the Canby like this. I suppose the only issue with the Canby is it clashes with Dominus Impulse. So give or take on that one. Maybe you just don't go Canby. You play 3 Double Wild and you play 3 Dominus Impulse. And then you open up 3 more spaces of the Herald of the Orange Lights that then become 3 Super Polymerization, maybe, because you open up quite a lot of space in your extra deck. Something to test. I like the Double Wild tech, so I'm going to have to keep looking at that one. The issue with the Double Wild tech is you have to get a Fairy onto the field. And if I cut out the Canbies and I cut out the other cards, the only Fairies that can hit the field of play would be Indulged and Jehuti. And then I don't have any other Fairy monsters that can get there. So I don't know. Trial and error, give it a test, see how it works, I guess. Maybe I could play Azaminas and play this way. What is Rusiliaga, actually? Just as another little thought. Rusiliaga is an illusion. If that was a Fairy, it would have been busted. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this like extended regional experience, so local experience, but regional edition. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get to any more regionals this quarter, but we've only got like 3 or 4 more regionals. And then after that is the next quarter, which will be the Blazing Dominion quarter. And that's where like Cool Tunes are going to be running around, Enya Cross is going to be running around, new Dominus trap card and a new Judgment trap card as well. So, you know, you never know. We'll soon see. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe. And of course, happy dueling.